Today's video is going to be intense. We're diving into 7 female content creators who each embody one of the 7 deadly sins so perfectly, it's almost like watching a modern morality play unfold in real time. And listen, I'm not here to cancel anyone or pile hate on people, but these are public figures whose actions have had real consequences, and there are lessons we can all learn from their stories. From inappropriate content involving minors to literal billion-dollar heists, these stories show what happens when the pursuit of online fame goes absolutely off the rails. So buckle up, hit that like button if you appreciate deep dives into internet culture, and let's get into the 7 deadly sins of female YouTubers. Starting with sin number 1, lust. First up, we have lust, and I'm not just talking about romantic desire here. I'm talking about an insatiable lust for attention, for clout, for those view counts that make your dopamine receptors light up like a Christmas tree. Our first subject is Amelia Woo, a 16-year-old TikToker who has more followers than the entire population of Switzerland. Let that sink in. More people follow her than live in an entire country. Now, Amelia started out in 2022 pretty innocently. Makeup tutorials, lip syncs, the standard TikTok fare that every teenage creator starts with. Nothing controversial. But here's where things take a turn that has the entire internet concerned. As her desire for fame grew, her content started shifting. And I'm going to be very careful with my words here, because we're talking about a minor. But the content became increasingly, let's say, provocative. Dancing and posing in revealing clothing, positions that many commentators found inappropriate for someone her age. Popular commentator Miss Mia didn't hold back, saying, quote, "This 16-year-old girl is showing off her cleavage online, her stomach, posing in very promiscuous positions." But here's where this story goes from concerning to deeply troubling. Some of these TikToks featured her 25-year-old brother, Thomas, and the community's reaction was immediate disgust. We're talking about a grown man participating in and apparently encouraging his teenage sister to create this type of content. Miss Mia continued, "Her relationship with her brother has always rubbed me the wrong way. If it's not borderline incestuous, it's exploitative at the very least." She raises a critical question about his influence on the teenager. Think about the power dynamic here. When you're 16, you're still figuring out who you are. Your brain, specifically your prefrontal cortex that handles decision-making, isn't fully developed. And when an adult in your life, someone you trust, is pushing you to create content that the internet finds deeply inappropriate, that's not guidance, that's exploitation. Miss Mia put it perfectly. This is not how a happy and healthy 16-year-old girl behaves. Don't be fooled by the smiles and the dance moves and the quirkiness online. Look deeper than that. But despite waves of criticism from the community, from concerned viewers, from fellow creators, Amelia and Thomas keep pumping out this content. Why? Because it works. The algorithm rewards it. The views pour in, the followers multiply. And that's the insidious nature of lust on social media. It doesn't care about long-term consequences. It doesn't care about mental health or appropriate boundaries. It only cares about the next hit, the next viral moment, the next dopamine rush. When a teenage creator's content makes thousands of people genuinely concerned for their well-being, something is fundamentally broken. Whether that's family dynamics, mental health, or just the toxic incentive structure of social media itself. This wasn't about judging a teenager. It's about questioning the adults who should be protecting her. If Amelia's story made you uncomfortable, strap in, because sin number 2 is going to make you genuinely angry. Meet Ashley Barnes, a 17-year-old TikToker with 2.5 million followers whose gluttony, her reckless, obsessive, and ultimately predatory behavior was brutally exposed by fellow influencers in July 2025. Before we get into this, I need to make something clear. We're talking about allegations of sexual misconduct and consent violations. This is serious. This isn't drama. This is about real harm done to real people. On the surface, Ashley looked like just another teenage influencer. Life advice videos, relatable content, millions of followers eating it up. But behind the scenes, according to multiple first-hand accounts, something deeply disturbing was happening. In July 2025, several of Ashley's former friends came forward with a horrifying story about what happened when she was making content in LA. One of them said, "We were the closest people to Ashley, her ex-girlfriend and her best friend, and we could not believe she would do this stuff to her friends." But the most detailed and disturbing account came from Brad Mason, a fellow TikToker who was invited to stay at a hotel with Ashley and other underage creators. What he described was a systematic pattern of boundary violations and predatory behavior. Brad explained that Ashley started spraying something called pheromone spray around the room. For those who don't know, these sprays claim to release hormones that increase attraction and arousal. Already inappropriate, right? But that was just the beginning. Ashley then initiated a game of dare or drink, but according to Brad, she kept pushing people to make out with each other. When the group repeatedly said no, she didn't stop. Brad described how she changed into extremely revealing clothing and would deliberately spread her legs open, lift her shirt up, all while everyone was visibly uncomfortable. Then it escalated. Brad said, quote, "She gets into my bed and I'm just trying to act like I'm asleep and get away from her." This is a young man describing having to pretend to be asleep to avoid unwanted sexual advances. Another TikToker named Capri was there that night and corroborated the story. Capri described physically removing Ashley and saying, "Stop, I have a girlfriend." But allegedly, Ashley didn't respect that boundary either. After this expose went viral, Brad showed the contents of Ashley's drawer to support his claims, and it was exactly as he described. Multiple items consistent with his account. The internet's response was swift and unforgiving. One comment summed it up perfectly. "Her behavior is so disgusting. She knows that no means no. I don't care if she's 17. She knows better. And here's the thing. They're right. At 17, you absolutely know what consent means. You know what no means. This isn't a case of a child who doesn't understand boundaries. This is someone who heard no multiple times and chose to ignore it." Ashley's response? A damage control apology where she blamed addiction issues before quietly disappearing from the platform. But let me be crystal clear. Addiction does not excuse predatory behavior. It might explain it. It might be part of the underlying cause. But it does not erase the trauma inflicted on Brad, Capri, and everyone else who was victimized that night. Gluttony in the age of social media isn't just about excess. It's about taking and taking and taking without regard for consent, boundaries, or the humanity of others. If someone says no, that's the end of the conversation. Period. Your desires, your addiction, your need for experiences, none of that trumps another person's right to bodily autonomy. All right, let's shift gears from sexual misconduct to financial misconduct, and we're talking about the biggest heist in United States history. Meet Heather Morgan, better known by her rapper name, Razzlekhan. Yes, you heard that right, rapper. Keep that detail in your back pocket because it becomes hilariously relevant later. In 2016, something massive happened in the crypto world. Nearly 100,000 bitcoins were stolen from the exchange platform Bitfinex. At the time, that was worth about $70 million. Already a huge theft that caught the attention of Homeland Security and the IRS. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The authorities investigated but couldn't find the culprits. Why? Because Heather and her husband were smart. They moved all that stolen Bitcoin to the dark web and then just waited. They didn't spend a single Satoshi because they knew any transaction could tip off investigators. After about a year of patience, they started laundering the money through thousands of wallet transfers and fake identities. Sophisticated stuff. These weren't amateurs. This was a carefully planned operation. But nobody, including Heather and her husband, was prepared for what happened next. In 2017, Bitcoin's value absolutely exploded. That's $70 million in stolen Bitcoin. It was now worth $4.5 billion. Let me say that again. $4.5 billion. The biggest heist ever in U.S. history. Bigger than any bank robbery. Bigger than any art theft. The biggest financial crime ever committed on American soil. So what does someone sitting on $4.5 billion in stolen cryptocurrency do? Do they lay low, disappear to a country without extradition, live quietly and carefully? No, Heather decided to become a social media influencer and rapper. I am not making this up. In the middle of hiding literal billions in stolen funds, Heather decided to expand her social media presence using that stolen money to fund her content creation career. And the content? The content was something. There's a video of her rapping with the lyric, "Romance rather do my jerk-off dance." The cringe is physical, people. But as terrible as her music career was, that's not what brought her down. It was something much simpler, one online purchase. The FBI traced a single transaction back to her Bitcoin accounts and home address. In 2022, they raided her home and arrested both her and her husband. After pulling off the biggest heist in American history, they got caught because they couldn't resist the spotlight. The sentences? Heather got 18 months in prison. Her husband, who masterminded the whole operation, got 5 years. Think about that ratio for a second. They stole $4.5 billion and got less than a decade of combined prison time. Meanwhile, people serve longer sentences for nonviolent drug offenses. But I digress. Greed doesn't just corrupt your morals. It makes you stupid. Heather and her husband successfully executed the most sophisticated financial crime in history, and they blew it because they couldn't resist using stolen money to fund a rap career. Pride and greed together created the perfect storm of idiocy. The lesson: there are no shortcuts to legitimate success, and stolen money will never buy you real respect or happiness. Sin number 4, sloth. The sin of laziness, of taking shortcuts, of wanting all the glory without any of the actual work. In the gaming world, this sin manifests as cheating. And our subject is Nadia, a streamer who called herself the best Warzone player in the world. Spoiler alert, she wasn't. Before her career imploded, Nadia was one of the fastest-growing streamers in the Call of Duty community. Her gameplay was incredible. Impossible shots, perfect aim, game sense that seemed almost supernatural. She built a loyal fan base of people who genuinely believed they were watching a generational talent. But then viewers started noticing anomalies. Her crosshair would snap to targets in ways that seemed too precise. She'd track enemies through walls. Her reaction time was superhuman. And not in the wow, she's talented way, but in the this is literally impossible for human reflexes way. The accusations started rolling in. She's using aimbot. She's cheating. This isn't legitimate skill. When confronted about it, Nadia's response was not great. She said, quote, "I feel like there's just no information though. The clip was cut really short." That's not a denial. That's deflection. But body language experts and keen viewers noticed something else. She looked guilty, fidgeting, nervous glances, all the tells of someone who knows they've been caught, but is trying to maintain the facade. Then another creator, called Detective Call of Shame, made a video proving that Nadia had also bought Twitch followers to inflate her numbers. She was cheating in multiple ways, in-game hacks and fake audience growth. Her response to that accusation? So all you little boys with fragile masculinity that can't accept a woman is just better, it's time to face the reality. And that's where she made a fatal mistake. She tried to turn legitimate criticism about cheating into a gender issue. You just can't handle that a woman is good at games. Except that wasn't the issue. Women all over the gaming community, skilled, legitimate female gamers, were calling her out too. This wasn't about gender. This was about integrity. The final nail in the coffin: she doxed a viewer. For those who don't know, doxing means revealing someone's personal information online: address, real name, etc. It's not just unethical. In many places, it's illegal. After that, her entire audience turned against her. Popular commentators noted, antagonizing your audience is rarely good for long-term engagement. Understatement of the year. Today, Nadia has pivoted to what we'll politely call different content to stay relevant. All because she wanted the fame and respect of being a top gamer without actually being good at the game. Shortcuts might get you there faster, but they won't keep you there longer. In any field, gaming, content creation, business, art, the audience can smell inauthenticity. People aren't stupid. They know the difference between real skill and fake performance. Put in the work, or accept that your success will be as hollow as the methods you use to achieve it. Sin number 5 is wrath, uncontrolled anger that destroys your reputation in real time. And our case study is Ella Catherine, a TikToker whose entitled meltdown over a babysitting job went so viral for all the wrong reasons. Before the incident, Ella was your standard TikTok personality with 95,000 followers, vlogging her life and adventures. She seemed like a normal, adventurous young woman who wanted to see the world. This adventurous spirit led her to accept an au pair position with a family in Milan, Italy. For those unfamiliar, an au pair is basically a cultural exchange program where you live with a host family, help with childcare, and in return, you get room, board, and the experience of living in another country. It's supposed to be a 3-month commitment. Ella lasted 4 days. On day 4, we see Ella literally sneaking out of the host family's house in the middle of the night with all her luggage. She films herself and she's clearly distressed. "Oh my God, I'm literally shaking. That was the scariest thing ever. I couldn't figure out how to get past the gate, but I got it. And carrying all these bags, it's kind of scary. I just hope the train comes soon." She makes it sound like she's escaping from captivity, from an abusive situation, from genuine danger. But when she sat down to explain why she left, the internet's collective response was, "Wait, that's what you're upset about?" Reason number 1. The host dad spoke no English at all. He spoke as much English as I speak Italian, which is none. Pause. She signed up to be an au pair in Italy. She went to a country where the primary language is Italian, and she's complaining that the dad doesn't speak English? The comments rolled in. First red flag, becoming an au pair for a foreign family and not learning the language. But it gets better, or worse, depending on your perspective. Reason number 2. The host mom would raise her voice and tell Ella she needed to read to the child, teach him English, and actually interact with him instead of being on her phone. Let me break this down. The mom was telling her to do her job. That's literally what an au pair does. You engage with the children, you teach them. You pay attention to them, but Ella felt trapped and needed to get out of the house. The internet's response was savage and completely justified. She thought she was going on a vacation to fall in love with a mafia boss and lose herself in the city. She wanted to be paid to post aesthetic content in Milan, not actually work. One commenter nailed it. She showed unjustified wrath against the host family and now has left a bad taste in her fans' mouths. This is entitlement at its peak. We're now at sin number 6, envy. The endless comparison trap that social media was literally designed to trigger. And our subject is Nadia, TikTok royalty with 13 million followers, whose envy-driven obsession with achieving the perfect body has led her to promote genuinely dangerous behaviors. Nadia's journey started in Ukraine as an aspiring content creator with big dreams. Those dreams led her to LA, where her brand initially took off with dance reels and viral skits, standard influencer stuff that audiences loved. But behind the perfectly curated content was a deep, festering wound. In an emotional video, Nadia revealed that trauma never healed. Instead, it transformed into an obsession. She constantly compared herself to her friends' bodies, to other creators' bodies, to the impossible standards set by filtered and edited content all over social media. And rather than seeking therapy or professional help to process that childhood trauma, Nadia began promoting disturbing weight loss methods to her 13 million, mostly young, impressionable followers. In one video, she casually mentioned, "Before this day, I didn't eat like 9 days. 9 days." Extremely clear. Not eating for 9 days is not a diet. It's not intermittent fasting. It's starvation. It's an eating disorder. And promoting it to millions of young people is genuinely dangerous. But it didn't stop there. Nadia posted videos of herself taking pills for weight loss, saying, "Someone told me I need to take it." Taking another pill. She promoted fat diets. I think she meant fad diets, but the typo is fitting. She talked about drinking excessive amounts of energy drinks, saying, "I'm obsessed with energy drinks. I understand why. For me, it's like addiction. Every morning I drink it." This is someone replacing meals with stimulants and promoting it as aspirational content. The comment sections filled with concern and disgust. I'm convinced she runs on negative calories and pure delusion. Surprised she hasn't started selling bottled air as a meal replacement yet. But here's the truly dark part. Nadia has 13 million followers. A significant portion of them are young girls who already struggle with body image. When they see someone they admire promoting starvation, pills, and dangerous behaviors as the path to beauty, that influence is real and has real consequences. Eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of any mental illness. They destroy lives. They kill people. And when creators with massive platforms normalize these behaviors, they're not just hurting themselves, they're potentially triggering disorders in vulnerable viewers. Envy is the thief of joy, and social media is envy on steroids. Everyone's highlight reel is on display 24/7, and our brains aren't equipped to handle constant comparison. But here's what Nevada's story teaches us. Your trauma doesn't give you permission to traumatize others. If you're struggling with body image, eating disorders, or mental health, please seek professional help, not validation from an algorithm. And if you're a creator with influence, understand that your words and actions have weight. Promoting dangerous behaviors doesn't just affect you, it ripples out to everyone watching. Finally, we arrive at sin number 7, pride. Often called the deadliest sin because it blinds you to your own faults and makes growth impossible. Meet Jasmine Tan, a self-proclaimed girl's girl who built her brand on uplifting young women. On the surface, her content seemed positive and empowering. She racked up millions of views with viral affirmations like, "I feel like girls are just naturally born pretty, clean, and scented." Wholesome, right? Supporting women and promoting self-love? That's the brand she sold. But slowly, the mask started to crack. The positivity revealed itself to be a thin veneer covering toxic superiority and raging double standards. In one video, Jasmine scolded her partner. "Please don't ever talk to me in a baby voice. I'm the only one in the relationship who's allowed to do it. Because it's cute when I do it. It's not cute when you do it, buddy." The audience immediately clocked the hypocrisy. One comment summed it up. "It's so ironic for her to criticize that guy when she sounds like a chronically online 10-year-old. But Jasmine wasn't done. Her next target was a young woman she saw at her gym, a 21-year-old who was still in school. Jasmine filmed herself ranting. "She's still in school. She's 21. Why does she look like a mother of two who responsibly files her goddamn taxes?" Let's unpack that. First, she's mocking a stranger's appearance. Second, she's using mother as an insult, as if having children makes women ugly or less valuable. The backlash was immediate and justified. The way she uses moms as a way to call someone ugly is actually crazy. Having kids doesn't make a woman ugly. What happened to girls supporting girls? This is just mean girl behavior with a positive filter on it. When confronted with this criticism, when given the opportunity to apologize and show some self-awareness, Jasmine doubled down. She responded to the criticism in her own problematic way, refusing to acknowledge the hurt she caused. And the consequences? Her views have tanked in recent months. Her comment sections are filled with people calling out her hypocrisy. The girl's girl brand is dead because the pride wouldn't allow her to admit she was wrong. This is the insidious nature of pride. It convinces you that you're always right. That criticism is just haters, that you don't owe anyone an apology. It makes you believe you're above accountability. But here's the truth. The moment you start thinking you're above criticism is the moment your downfall begins. Real confidence doesn't need to tear others down. Real strength admits mistakes. Real leadership takes accountability. Pride might feel good in the moment. "I don't need to apologize. They're just jealous." But it's poison for long-term success. Your audience isn't stupid. They can see through performative positivity. They can spot hypocrisy from a mile away. Stay humble, stay teachable, stay open to feedback. Because the alternative is watching your career crumble while your pride insists everything is fine. End quote. So there you have it. 7 female content creators, 7 deadly sins, 7 cautionary tales about what happens when the pursuit of online fame corrupts the very foundation of why someone started creating content in the first place. Amelia Woo and her lust for attention that's concerning an entire community. Ashley Barnes and her gluttony, predatory behavior that violated consent and traumatized real people. Heather Morgan and her greed that led to the biggest heist in U.S. history, only to be undone by her desire for rap fame. Nadia and her sloth, cheating her way to the top instead of developing real skill. Ella Catherine and her wrath, an entitled meltdown over a job she didn't want to actually do. Nevada and her envy, promoting dangerous eating disorders to millions of vulnerable followers. And Jasmine Tan and her pride, refusing to acknowledge hypocrisy even as her career crashes. But here's what I want you to understand. These aren't stories about bad people. These are stories about what happens when regular humans are given massive platforms without the maturity, support systems, or self-awareness to handle them responsibly. If you made it this far, drop a comment with which sin you think is the most dangerous. Hit that subscribe button if you want more deep dives into internet culture, and remember, the algorithm rewards engagement, but real success comes from being a decent human being. Thanks for watching, stay real, and I'll catch you in the next one.